When I was younger, art was something more than just a hobby. I doodled everywhere I could, drawing faces, flowers, and my friends, using graphite, crayons, and chalk. Eventually, my parents noticed my interest in art and supported me. They bought me paintbrushes, acrylic paints, canvas paper, and watercolor to let me do whatever I wanted. I absolutely loved it. I made small picture books to share with my family and friends, and explored various forms of art. But fast forward to several years later, and all of my art materials are stored in my family storage closet, where a blanket of dust covers my belongings. The thing is, growing up, I also really liked science. Let me fix that. I like science, a lot. So much that I decided to take on double science courses for the IB instead of art. I always thought that I was going to be an artist growing up. But as I became exposed to more and more of the reality, I noticed my mind starting to change. I noticed myself becoming more and more drawn to the sciences. As I started to explore things that my classrooms didn't offer, I became more and more interested. I like to think of science as kind of like an amusement park. There are so many different things to explore, and best of all, it's accessible to everyone. But worst of all, I'd started to build a certain mindset, that art and science are mutually exclusive. Of course, the arts and sciences are not mutually exclusive, but it's understandable why one might think of it that way, as I did. The telltale signs are everywhere. Social stigma, for one, imposes pressure on aspiring artists, convincing them that they won't be financially successful, and that realistically, art should be nothing more than just a hobby. Instead, go for something that might provide you with better opportunities. How about a doctor, an engineer, an astronomer? But eventually, I started to reject this idea of excluding the arts from the sciences. You see, I started to scavenge the internet for help and a sense of belonging from both the science and art communities. And I found this term that I felt was destined to find: STEAM. STEAM is STEM, science, technology, engineering, and maths. But it also has the extra A, which stands for the arts. If you've heard of this term, excellent. If you haven't, excellent. Now you know. Well, I already know that there are various challenges associated with STEM education. First of all, for people like me who like to explore STEM fields in tandem with my creative interests, STEM is a slight source of shame. But I'd like to point out that STEM education doesn't deliberately try to exclude the arts from the sciences. In a way, it inherently teaches students about the arts, such as applying creative thinking when looking at mathematical and scientific concepts. But STEAM emphasizes the inclusion of the arts more so than STEM. Students are encouraged to look at STEM from an artistic perspective, using their imagination and creative talents in their learning. But when I mention STEAM education, beware. I'm not advocating that we teach art to students, but rather that we integrate the arts seamlessly into STEM. But STEM isn't the only way to look at education, and neither is STEAM. Art isn't every creative solution, and an innovative idea can only get better with the inclusion of the arts. When I mention STEAM, beware. I'm not advocating that we teach art to students, but rather that we integrate the arts seamlessly when we talk about STEM. Art isn't every creative solution, and an innovative idea can only get better with the inclusion of the arts. STEM isn't the only way to look at education, and neither is STEAM. In fact, there's a term that has recently been gaining steam, and that's STEAM with an H, STEAM. As you can guess, the H in STEAM stands for humanities. There are various benefits associated with this approach, with one being that if we study the history of older technology, we may be able to have a better understanding of how newer forms of technology can affect us in the future. Kevin Jones from Mindport summarizes it perfectly. Starting science instruction by telling the stories of scientists and their lives first, instead of mentioning them only in their passing, if not at all, is one good way to inspire eventual interest in the nuts and bolts of science and technology. As an example, the Atlas program of the University College of Twente in the Netherlands aims to incorporate the social sciences with technology and engineering. By combining the social sciences with engineering, this program aims to create an interactive setting where students can apply a broad skill set of knowledge when tackling an aspect of a global issue. Many renowned institutions have taken the step to combine various interdisciplinary areas into STEM, and this is spread to schools as well. For those interested in taking their interests to a competitive level, the Conrad Challenge, which I took part in, allows students in teams to come up with creative solutions to an aspect of a global issue, whether it be with design engineering, 3D modeling, or sketches to help communicate their ideas. Now STEM has been, and still is, in many countries around the world, idealized as a man's career, while the arts are less often so. Women are often dissuaded from becoming doctors, scientists, and engineers. This has resulted in a very noticeable gender gap between males and females. So I want to pose this question to you. If we had not separated the arts and the sciences, would we still be having this gender gap? Here's my take on the gender gap. Perhaps one of the reasons why the gender gap has arisen is due to the fact that we have forcibly separated the arts and the sciences and associated STEM with the idea that only males should pursue careers in STEM, while females pursue careers in humanities or the arts, which are seen as the more socially acceptable option. In Japan, women are often forced to diverge from pursuing careers in STEM. Due to the widespread belief that women in STEM do not care about beauty or their romantic lives, women often end up studying the humanities or the arts, which are seen as a more socially acceptable option. Due to this perception, Japan, which is listed as the 121st country out of 153 countries with the greatest gender gap as of 2020, has a long way to go with regards to STEM. As of 2017, the ratio of female professionals in science, including the humanities, social sciences, and natural sciences, was only 15.7%. As I go to an all-girls school, I did not often wonder whether I would be facing disadvantages due to my gender, but it did eventually hit me that I, for one, did not want to face unequal opportunities due to my gender or race. Another factor that hinders young women and girls when choosing their subjects or careers has been identified as the fear of failure. Take a look at this graph. The horizontal axis represents the index of fear of failure, and on the vertical axis, you can see that Japan stands high in the index of fear of failure compared to the OECD average. Now looking at this, you might ask, what can we do about this? For me, the answer seems pretty straightforward. First, we offer STEAM education to every student around the world, starting from a young age. This will allow students to familiarize themselves with the various STEAM fields that exist, and to develop potential ideas for their personal pursuits. Second, we emphasize advocacy. STEAManism is one example. STEAManism is a blend of two words, STEAM and feminism, and by definition, aims to achieve equal diversity in the STEAM fields. Let me provide you with one example. In Japan, a term called Rikejo, meaning science woman, has become recently popularized. Rikejo is admittedly doing some good. It has allowed past perceptions of women in science as unfeminine to slowly but surely change. Now, if you're someone like me, who loves science, who loves art, and who simply believes that we can overturn this long-withstanding perception, here are several things that we can do and that we need. First, we need more role models that are willing to actively help set new targets to achieve equal diversity in the STEAM fields. We need more role models, not just females, but also males, that are willing to help inspire the next generation of female scientists. We need to stop associating STEAM with social labels that have long persisted and have hindered young women from entering STEAM fields. We need a better understanding of how we can use feminine STEM role models to motivate young women and to make STEAM education accessible for everyone. But no woman should ever be told that pursuing science will make them less feminine or less capable of pursuing a romantic relationship with another. No woman should be told that the humanities are the better alternative and that it's more attractive for them. Moreover, no one should be told that STEM is a man's career, and that women should only pursue science or artistic careers. I've been blinded to what can be possibly achieved when the sciences and arts are integrated together. If schools reinforce education by emphasizing creative means and outlets when looking at STEM, I'm sure that no one will have to face the same concerns that I had faced. Now, if you don't know how to get started, here's one way we can approach STEAM and STEAManism. This year's theme for International Women's Day was Choose to Challenge. Let's celebrate young women who are entering STEAM fields and our progress towards greater inclusion. Let's also aim to challenge the facts and figures that show the disparities in representation within STEAM fields. There isn't just one way to explore STEM, and no one should be told that the arts and sciences are mutually exclusive. Let's choose the challenge. Thank you.